What if I told you that the number of Canadians who are actually millionaires, once you take their house completely out of the equation, is far smaller than most people assume, and far more revealing about who is truly wealthy in this country versus who just happens to own an expensive piece of real estate? Today we're pulling back the curtain on real Canadian net worth, the kind that doesn't rely on rising home prices to look impressive, and what we find might completely change how you think about wealth in this country. Welcome back to Canadian Finance Hub with James. If you're new here, this channel breaks down money, investing, and net worth in a way that actually makes sense, without the confusing jargon or the misleading headlines you see everywhere else. Today we're answering a question that comes up constantly in the comments. How many Canadians are actually millionaires when you remove the value of their primary home from the calculation? Because here's the thing, when most people hear the word millionaire, they picture someone with a fat investment portfolio, multiple income streams, and serious financial freedom. But in Canada, especially in cities like Toronto and Vancouver, a huge chunk of so-called millionaires only hit that number because their house happens to be worth a lot of money on paper. Strip that away, and the picture looks very different. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about how Statistics Canada and various financial institutions actually measure this. Net worth is calculated by adding up everything you own, your home, your investments, your savings, your vehicles, and then subtracting everything you owe, like your mortgage, loans, and credit card debt. When housing prices exploded over the last 2 decades, especially in major Canadian cities, millions of ordinary homeowners suddenly found themselves technically classified as millionaires, simply because the market value of their homes skyrocketed around them. They didn't do anything differently. They didn't invest more aggressively or save more diligently. Their house just went up in value while they were living in it, and that single asset was often enough to push their total net worth past the $1 million mark. Now here's where things get interesting. According to various wealth surveys and financial industry reports, when you exclude primary residence value from net worth calculations, the number of actual Canadian millionaires drops dramatically, in some estimates by more than half. This means a huge portion of Canada's so-called millionaire class exists almost entirely on paper, tied up in a single illiquid asset that they can't easily access without selling the roof over their head or taking on more debt through a line of credit. That's a very different kind of wealthy than someone who has $1 million sitting in diversified, liquid investments they can actually use. This distinction matters more than people realize, and here's why. If your net worth is mostly your house, you don't actually have $1 million of usable wealth. You have $1 million house and a mortgage, or maybe a house that's paid off but locks up almost all of your net worth in a single non-income producing asset. You still have to live somewhere, so you can't simply cash out and enjoy that money the way you could with investments. Meanwhile, someone with half that net worth, but spread across a TFSA, an RRSP, a non-registered investment account, and maybe some real estate that isn't their primary residence, often has far more actual financial flexibility, even though their total number on paper looks smaller. This is exactly why financial experts increasingly talk about the difference between net worth and liquid net worth. Liquid net worth strips out your primary residence and any assets you can't quickly convert to cash without major life disruption. It's a much more honest measure of financial freedom, because it tells you how much money you could actually access if you needed it, whether that's for an emergency, an investment opportunity, or simply retiring earlier than planned. A lot of Canadians who look wealthy on paper because of their real estate would actually struggle significantly if they lost their job tomorrow, because almost none of their net worth is sitting in something they can quickly turn into usable cash. So who are the Canadians who qualify as millionaires even without counting their home? Generally, these are people who have spent years, often decades, consistently investing through TFSAs and RRSPs, building diversified portfolios of index funds and ETFs, and letting compound growth do the heavy lifting over time. These are typically not people who got lucky with a hot stock or an inheritance. They're people who treated investing as a long-term habit rather than a short-term gamble. Interestingly, this group tends to be more financially secure than many higher-income Canadians who never built consistent investing habits, because income and wealth are not the same thing. You could earn a great salary for years and still have very little liquid net worth if most of it goes toward lifestyle spending, and you could earn a modest income while quietly building serious liquid wealth through consistent, patient investing. This also explains why so many Canadians feel financially anxious despite technically being millionaires on paper. Feeling wealthy and being liquid wealthy are two completely different experiences. If your entire net worth is locked inside the walls of your home, you don't feel rich day to day. You feel exactly the same as everyone else stressing about groceries and bills, because that home equity isn't paying for your daily life. Meanwhile, someone with real liquid investments, even a smaller total number, often feels genuinely more secure, because they know that money is actually working for them and accessible if life throws a curveball. So if you're currently building your own net worth, the takeaway here isn't that owning a home is a bad decision, it's that you shouldn't let rising home equity give you a false sense of financial security. Real financial freedom in Canada comes from building liquid, diversified wealth alongside your home, not instead of it. If your entire strategy is simply waiting for your house to appreciate, you may technically become a millionaire on paper one day, but you won't necessarily feel free, flexible, or financially secure, because that number won't translate into real options in your everyday life. If this video helped you understand what true Canadian wealth actually looks like, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people trying to build real financial freedom. Let me know in the comments whether you think net worth should include your home or not. I'd love to hear different perspectives. And if you want more breakdowns like this on investing, net worth, and building real wealth here in Canada, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. This has been Canadian Finance Hub with James, and I'll see you in the next video.